Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring in our top right hand side DND, Audi xDnDx, our gold Protoss, and in the bottom left we have Cryptys, our blue Terran. I have to admit, I have no idea what I'm doing here. Cryptys, it could be Crypts, it could be Cryptys. I have no idea, and I apologize immensely because it's probably incredibly easy to pronounce. It could be some ancient word that I'm just not familiar with, so I apologize. I'll go with Cryptys. If I'm terribly wrong, I do apologize. And if I'm right, awesome. I totally meant to do that. D&D was right whenever it came to the build order for last game. Playing on Cloud Kingdom, knew what he was doing. He pulled out that whole death ball mechanic that is inherent to Protoss, and really just played to the strengths of it, making it so he forced Cryptys into major engagements in chokes, cutting up that bio ball into small manageable pieces, and then forcing them to stand there and take it, and it being the AoE damage not only from the Colossus count, which was very intimidating by the end of it. I think it was like 5 Colossus, but also a huge number of High Templars just throwing out storm after storm after storm, bringing the pain. It was terrible. It was terrible. Cryptys, however, in the first game, really brought the pain for D&D. He did a huge number of drops, really forcing D&D to spread his death ball thin, which is not where the strength lies. And that was absolutely fantastic. I'm looking forward to this game because, you know, in Game 3, you really start to see the changes start to get added in. I feel like Cryptys was really missing the ghost mechanic later on that allowed D&D to get out the number of High Templars that he did, making it so the snipe wasn't really on the table, and neither was EMP, which could have shut down that heavy storm mechanic, which really made it so that that third fell so very quickly in that last game. On the other side of things, D&D needs to work in some way to defend his bases other than just positioning his death ball within walking distance, because he's going to take so much damage from the drops that Cryptys has. And, you know, those drops are just going to keep coming. I mean, Cryptys has this heavy bioplay. He's got the Medivacs, he's got the Marines that he can just afford to throw them away. So, especially in a map like this, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. I actually have to look up the name, Neoplanet S. It's weird. It's definitely weird. You don't have a Xel'Naga watchtower in the center. You do have 2 high-yield minerals fields accompanied by 2 normal Vespene geysers, and it's just super exposed in the center. So if you get map control, you win in economy. Speaking of map control, third is very shaky. It's very exposed. You've got a supplemental pathway on the right side with some rocks to make it so that the choke exists, but a single pylon thrown down here and some suicided zealots in can really make it so Terran hurts in securing that third, let alone Protoss. I mean, Protoss with its slow, bumbling defenses, it makes it so this place is very hard too. So expect D&D to have an issue taking up that third. He definitely had a hard time in that first match between Cryptys, and it could be that he's going to take advantage of that again. I'd love to see Cryptys go back to that heavy drop play we saw in the first match. I don't remember. It's possible that I missed it, but I don't think there was a single drop in that first one. There was an attempted one. In that second game, there was an attempted drop, but it got sniped by 2 stalkers, and then after that, it just kind of snowballed because D&D had such a fantastic amount of momentum. Bunker being constructed on the low ground next to that command center. Both players are taking up their expo of choice. We can see this, even the SCV from Cryptys survived. Fantastic play, keeping that alive. We see that the aggressive Stalker Zealot duo is moving off, but they're going to have a very hard time poking at that front door because Cryptys has his Marines already well positioned right by the bunker, which is going to be finishing. Nice walk distance here on Planet S. Very nice walk distance, giving both players plenty of time to get up the static defenses needed. A gateway also being out. Good control there from Cryptys, keeping that 1 Marine alive with 15 hit points to spare. Orbital command going up on the low ground. So the economy for Terran's going to be swinging up into full swing. The Nexus almost done. We can see quite a lot of Chrono Boost saved right now, but he's beginning to spend it down on doubling up on that probe production. So I expect we're going to see this economic tab begin to equalize. A little bit in the lead for Harvesters for D&D, but that's to be expected because those mules kick up the mineral income so very high. Robotics facility. Oh, robotics facility. Robotics facility. All right, being added on with another 2 gateways. So D&D progressing down once again. That Colossus with heavy gateway supporting force. But what is this? Cryptys moving off with 7 Marines. Oh my goodness, this is going to crush the defenses that D&D has right now, because we don't see anything to defend this. There's no wall, no nothing. The Stalker has to retreat completely. We can see that 2 workers have already gone down, and some of the probes turning to fight, but no, the Marines have their work cut out for them trying to take down that Stalker. But Warp Gate tech is done. 2 more Stalkers being added into this. I think D&D is going to have no problem cleaning up these Marines, but at what cost? How many workers have gone down? 5 of them right now. Oh, 6. Targeting down the probes, taking a 7th before the last Marine falls. Oh man, and 2 Colossus, or 2 Stalkers, 2 Colossus. That would be disastrous. 625 over 350. So overall resources lost, not too bad. But we switch over to the economic tab, and that'll show you 29. 27, because those probes are being chrono boosted out so very, very fast. That really puts Protoss in the hurt corner, because they're so very, very behind on the probe count. Remember, those probes should be significantly higher than the amount of SCVs out there, because Terran's going to be relying on the SCVs to be supplemented by those mules. Man, he's on it with those mule calldowns too. I mean, he's very, very good at spinning down that energy as fast as it comes, and we can see a little bit of energy being accumulated by D&D, but he's probably saving that for the more expensive and more valuable stuff, like the +1 armor being started right now, and the Twilight Council being added on. So are we going to see some sort of DT cheese? I don't think so. I mean, it's pretty late for the DTs, but it could be that he's getting that Twilight Council so they can get Blink out, which is what we saw in the previous game. Blink and Charge for those Zealots really, really works well in conjunction with the Death Ball that D&D likes to build. So the Observer comes in, sees pretty much everything. There's nothing being added onto that factory, which is weird. Usually you'd expect to see a reactor. Okay, there we go. There goes the reactor. There goes the starport. And the D&D Observer sticks around just in time to see that indeed that does go down. He's going to be dealing with a heavy bioplay. Double tech labs, 1 working on combat shield, 1 working on stim. For the first time ever, I've actually caught the combat shield being made, but in my defense, it's only 110 seconds. I mean, it's only up there for more than a minute, right? I'm not bad. Starport is almost done. Cryptys is going to be taking a very aggressive posture right now, but D&D knows about it. He's got his Observer out on the field right now, and with so many sentries already thrown in and that ready-made choke existing, I really don't expect Cryptys going to be able to do too much. Look for D&D to get a nice choke right here, but the Marauders are, oh no, D&D, you could have gotten 1 or 2 of those Marauders down. He could have force fielded just in the middle of that pack, pushing some of those Marauders forward, making it so that the Zealots could just go to town on them. Ultimately, I think D&D is just playing this a little bit passive. Really doesn't want to force an engagement right now. Even if a handful of those Marauders pushed in, you still don't know if those Marauders have slow, what sort of upgrades are on them. It's 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. I think D&D is just playing cautious right now, and that's not a bad thing at all. Really nice scouting, actually. So many observers out on the field, actually kind of paranoid about the drop play, but you've got to be, especially with his probe pushing off into the bottom right-hand side. He's going to be thinking about throwing up a Nexus. There it goes. Ooh, really ballsy choice. This is super, super exposed too, especially with Cryptys' Marauders and Marines on the field, and there is no choke here to protect it. So if Cryptys just turns right, if he just looks at that Nexus, it's going to have to be canceled. We see Templar Archives is on the production tab right now, and we don't even see a single Colossus coming out. What? No Colossus at all. So D&D radically changing up his entire build order, getting out some Immortals instead of those Colossus. Those Immortals are really going to have a field day with the Marauders. Definitely going to do quite a lot of damage. It's also going to make this force a little bit more flexible, a little bit more mobile, which is ultimately going to work in D&D's favor. Will Cryptys have an answer? I mean, he won't have to worry about producing a lot of Vikings, so he will have a lot of Medevacs. A small gap allows Cryptys to sneak in more than half his force in, and finally the door is shut with all those force fields relying on the sentries. No! Supplemental force fields going down right whenever the force fields fall, but the stutter step from Cryptys is just too much, doing so much damage. Oh, but he's focusing down that Immortal, which is just such a monstrous tank. Finally, the Zealots going to town on the Marauders forces Cryptys back. Oh, that looked like it was totally in his corner, but look at the resources lost tab, neck and neck, because Cryptys didn't get in there. He didn't do any economic damage, and now he's finally pulling back with his Medivacs up into the top left corner. Is he thinking about doing some sort of drop? Maybe, and that could really work to his advantage just to get a nice scout out there. Some of the Marines trying to get in there and meet up with the Medivac probably have a missed rally point on that. Cryptys finally moving to the right, finally seeing this Nexus exists. He's going to get in there, get a couple of kills on these probes, but ultimately he's going to get cleaned up by D&D's force. Both forces are very, very small for the state of the game. I mean, we're at the 13-minute mark. You'd expect to see a little bit more mobile of a force from D&D, a little bit larger, I guess, but he's working so very, very hard on his economy. I mean, he's recovered significantly from that early attack that he suffered from Cryptys, 60 over 57, even getting a couple of Archons out there is going to do some fantastic AoE there. I'd love to see the Storms also being added in. Storm almost done. I think those High Templars morphed into the Archons just so that they could survive. We saw a couple of Marines and Marauders poking in. Speaking of those Medivacs, it looks like they're retreating now rather than doing economic damage. Still, the worker skill count is pretty much at 9, which he only took down 2 workers in that poke to the third, but Cryptys knows about D&D's third. He knows that this exists. He's going to be thinking about doing a drop play there. Pylon going down for D&D, so he's also thinking about doing some counter aggression, but this is a great play by Cryptys, closing the door with some... Oh no! A nice play here by D&D, throwing down a pylon inside the wall off, and that's going to prompt a very, very quick reply from Cryptys. Where is his main force? It's moving off only in Medivacs to the top left-hand side. What is there to clean this out? The pylon is done. Does he not notice this? Oh no, this is catastrophic. Where's the warp in for D&D? Is everything on cooldown? Both players are just kind of sitting around. Oh, the Marauders have stimmed. They're booking it as fast as they possibly can. It's finally going to be doing some damage to that pylon. Even if something has started to warp in now, it's going to get canceled. Oh, wow, that was so close. That's terrible for my heart. Cryptys, don't do that. The Medivac's moving in. The scan showing D&D that this is where the drop is going to go in. He's going to be moving in with his force, scouting the High Templars. Oh, if he drops right here in this little choke, these Zealots are going to have a very hard time getting in there. But no, he's a little bit exposed, just a little bit exposed. Those Marauders coming down, the Zealots still having a very hard time focusing down Archon number 1, just going to town, but oh, supplemental wave of Zealots as Cryptys exposes his force, a force field cutting them in half, having to retreat directly over the Archon. 2 of the Medivacs go down. Overall, a wash from Cryptys. Cryptys just really not being able to catch a break on these drops, but finally pushing in with some Marauders into the bottom right-hand side, kiting back those Zealots very, very well, but yeah, he's got concussion cells, so also slowing them, and we see a ghost on the production tab. Oh, very nice play. Seeing those Archons are out on the field, seeing that he's going to have to deal with High Templars and their Storm is a very good play, but D&D, I think, has hit his stride. He's really excellently defending both the third as well as the main, which is the only 2 areas that Cryptys is being able to drop. He's got a single Colossus as well as 2 High Templars defending this. There goes the scan. D&D's just like, yeah, I got Colossus, what up? Really just excellent play coming out of D&D, just doing such a fantastic job at defending the drops from Cryptys and just showing you how flexible a Protoss player can be. Taking a 4th because D&D is feeling unstoppable right now, and I gotta admit, this is looking impossible for Cryptys because he really just needs a good engagement, and by an engagement I mean a drop. He needs to do some economic damage, but he's not able to do it because D&D is doing such a good job of splitting up his units, keeping just a handful at home to defend them, or at least having the infrastructure in place to quickly reinforce any area of his base. Radically different from the first D&D that we saw in the first game. And this counter-aggression of some Zealots just moving off to work at this lowered supply depot wall is... oh, this is incredible. This is such a good play coming out of D&D. And this is all that Cryptys has left. He's going to have to push off with some Zealots, some Ghosts, to deal with the High Templars right now, and D&D is out of position. He's going to be quickly reinforcing that third, but it gives Cryptys just a moment to work just a little bit on these Nexus. There goes the Storm. No control at all coming out from D&D, from Cryptys, dealing with these Storms from D&D. Oh my goodness, this whole engagement just goes to the dogs for Cryptys. He's going to have to pull back. At the same time, the Zealots are going to town on the orbital. This entire area has been cleaned up. 0 workers killed, because I guess that's where Cryptys' attention was during that last engagement. But wow, how one-sided can one engagement be? D&D pushing down with an in-game composition. He's got Colossus, he's got Archons, he had Storms in there. I think all of the High Templars morphed into Archons after the Storms were dropped down, and then just so much energy to throw down plenty of force fields if that's what was needed. And ultimately Cryptys' Marauders just stood there and took that critical, crucial storm, because the attention of Cryptys was elsewhere. D&D just raking in the kills, raking in the money. I mean, check out that economic tab, 77 over 63, and Protoss on 4 bases in just a couple of seconds. Cryptys was in a world of hurt there, and D&D just never let up. It was incredible. I feel like this game could have gone radically different if Cryptys had managed to do just one successful drop, but because D&D was so on it with all that defense, he had this game in the bag. Game number 4 coming up. Will Cryptys be able to continue his drop aggression? Will he be able to make it work? I don't know. I really don't know. D&D is looking impossibly strong. Let's check out game number 4 and see if things go different. I am Big and Scary. I'll see you guys later.